The drama begins, and the narrator calmly explains that in the past, love stories were all about destiny, about two people meeting by chance and believing it was fate. But in today's world, adults no longer wait for destiny to decide their relationships. They choose for themselves. They go on blind dates, they download apps, they decide who to meet and when to walk away. Love has become practical, almost strategic. And in the middle of this modern reality, we are introduced to our female lead, Lee Young, who is also searching for love in her own careful and slightly hesitant way. We then see her standing at exactly 7 in the evening, across from a man who politely introduces himself as Song Tae-sip. She introduces herself just as politely, and there is an awkward but hopeful silence between them. Both of them are clearly wondering whether this simple meeting could turn into something meaningful. Then the story goes back, and we see the scene of a month ago. Lee Young is sleeping, and her alarm keeps ringing. Her mom comes and complains about setting alarms she never follows, while her mother shouts at her messy room, telling her to wake up and clean the trash scattered everywhere. Face mask wrappers lie on the floor, clothes are piled up, and the room looks chaotic. Young lazily tells her mom to throw things away for her. This makes it clear that she is not some perfect, elegant heroine. She is a tired working adult living at home, balancing independence with family pressure. Her mother is an insurance broker. She discusses insurance plans and budgeting strategies, advising clients to reduce unnecessary spending and prioritize health coverage. She speaks honestly and refuses to exaggerate benefits just to make sales. Then, her mother teases her about being single for 4 years. Young insists she is not against marriage, it just hasn't happened for her. When her mom points out how quickly time is passing, Young laughs it off. But deep down, she feels the weight of it. At work, though, she is entirely different. Young works in the purchasing team at a hotel, and she handles clients with confidence and logic. Suddenly, a major crisis hits the hotel. For an important banquet hosting British guests, the menu has been changed at the last minute. The guests now want fish and chips added, which means the hotel needs 80 additional codfish before 2 in the afternoon. The number sounds impossible. Young immediately starts calling suppliers and rushing to markets. She secures 10 fish from one vendor and arranges for 20 more to be delivered quickly, but they are still 50 short. The pressure builds as time runs out. Then, she learns that a competing hotel, Season Plaza Hotel, has recently stocked up on cod. Instead of giving up, she boldly decides to approach them. She meets their purchasing manager face-to-face. She questions why she should help a competitor. Rather than begging, Young negotiates cleverly. She mentions that she knows she has been searching for high-quality trout and offers him exclusive information about a reliable supplier with certified clean water sources. Her confidence and preparation impress her, and after a tense pause, she agrees to provide the cod. Back at her hotel, the kitchen staff rush to prepare the fish, and the banquet is saved. Her coworkers are shocked by her bold move, and some even admire her courage. However, her strict manager, Miss Na Ran, criticizes her for not preventing the situation in the first place. Even though she solved the crisis, she is told to write a detailed report by Monday. It is a harsh reminder that in the corporate world, success does not always bring praise. Later, as she talks with her friend Min again, the conversation shifts back to her personal life. Her friend suggests trying a dating app and shows her a profile with no face picture, only strange emojis. Young finds it ridiculous and says she hates blind dates and online dating. Still, it is clear that she has not completely closed her heart. She wants something real, not something forced or superficial. Even on a Saturday, she is sitting at her desk, finishing work like it's a normal weekday. Her friend jokingly asks if she even has a life outside of work. She casually replies that of course she does, she just happens to be working right now. After that, someone messages her asking if she is free and wants to have dinner with her. Then, that's when she tells Min that she has plans and asks if she can leave early. Without hesitation, she tells Min to go and enjoy her weekend, promising to finish everything herself. Min beams with gratitude and practically runs out of the office. Watching her leave, Young smiles faintly. She doesn't mind staying behind. She's used to it. On her way out later, she meets Do Hyun. He used to be her junior in university, 1 year below her. After graduation, he became a lawyer, and recently, he started working as an in-house attorney in their hotel's legal team. Even though they now work in different departments and technically aren't in a senior-junior relationship anymore, he still calls her senior, just like he did back in college. She tells him not to call her that at work, but he says it's a habit that stuck. They decide to grab a meal together. During dinner, Do-hyun casually mentions that he had attended a friend's wedding earlier that day. His old classmates teased him when they found out he now works at the same company as Young, joking that he must have transferred because of her. Young laughs it off, but she admits that she was surprised too when she first saw him at the company. He looks completely different now, more mature, more composed. He jokingly says that when friends ask if she's still pretty, he tells them she looks exactly the same. Then he says it directly to her face. She's still pretty. The comment feels light, but it carries a quiet sincerity. As they talk, the atmosphere becomes warm and familiar. Young remembers something from years ago. Back in university, Do-hyun had once confessed his feelings to her. He had said that from the moment he first saw her in the department lounge, she was the only person he could see. He told her he liked how hard she worked, how serious she was about life. But at that time, Young had rejected him. She had been overwhelmed just trying to survive, focusing on studying, building her future, and supporting herself. Romance felt like a luxury she couldn't afford. She had told him she wasn't ready for love, that she didn't even know what love really meant. She was too busy trying not to drown in life. Now, years later, she is sitting across from him in his car. She can't help but notice how different he feels. Then, he asks her carefully if she's seeing anyone these days.
She says no.
She admits that she does think about dating sometimes, but between going back and forth from work to home every day, she barely has the chance to meet new people. Do-hyun quietly says that it doesn't always have to be someone new. The comment hangs in the air, subtle but meaningful. Meanwhile, office life continues as usual. They shared the long hours in the same meeting rooms, the same rooftop breaks, the same vending machines. These small daily routines slowly build a kind of closeness between Young and Do-hyun. At one point, a general manager, Yoon-suk, suddenly suggests setting Young up on a blind date with a volunteer from an animal shelter. She immediately refuses, feeling uncomfortable with the idea. Later that night, she meets her childhood friend June for drinks and finally admits something she hadn't said out loud before. The man who once confessed to her in college, Do-hyun, was her first love, even if she never dated him. She had turned him down back then because she simply didn't have space in her life for romance. But now, things are different. She's more stable. She has more emotional room. Maybe she could accept his feelings this time if he still feels the same. The next day at work, the purchasing team discusses a business trip to Bozong for supplier inspection. Nobody volunteers at first. Eventually, Young and her friend Min and another teammate named Simbayok are assigned to go. It's a one-night, 2-day trip. Bozong is famous for its green tea fields and is even known as a popular date location. After that, Do-hyun messages Young to meet in a restroom after the meeting. When she goes, he suddenly asks if he can join the inspection as well, saying that lawyers also need field experience and that it would be good to build relationships with suppliers. But the way he says he'll go with Young makes it obvious this isn't just about work. When Young hears that he volunteered, she feels a strange flutter in her chest. It's subtle, but it's there. For the first time, she wonders if this trip could become something more than just business. Maybe this is the opportunity her friend June told her to create, a natural situation where feelings could resurface. So, she says to Do-hyun that she has no problem with this. After that, at night, she becomes very happy and thinks that Do-hyun is going to confess to her again. Next morning, as she leaves home for the trip, she casually tells her mother that if someone gives her a wedding invitation from now on, she might actually attend. Her mother looks confused by the sudden comment, but Young just smiles and heads out. Something inside her feels different. When they finally arrive in Bozong, the green tea fields stretch endlessly under the open sky. The supplier greets them warmly, and the team begins their inspection. Now, Min quietly whispers to Young that it feels strange how the lawyer insisted on coming all the way here, even carrying heavy luggage himself. Min jokes that maybe there's a reason he followed them this far. She even points out that Young is wearing perfume today, something she rarely does on business trips. The teasing is light, but it makes her slightly self-conscious. The inspection team splits into 2 groups, one going to the green tea fields and the other to the tea processing factory. Young volunteers for the tea fields, and Do-hyun quickly says he'll go there too. The tea fields are breathtaking. Endless green terraces stretch across the hills, and the guide explains that Bozong is one of the oldest and largest tea-producing regions in the country. The scenery is so beautiful that even international media once listed it among the world's most stunning landscapes. Standing there under the sunlight, breathing in the fresh scent of tea leaves, everyone feels relaxed. As they walk side by side along the sloped paths, Du Haiyan hands Yang a bottle of water and casually says that walking like this reminds him of their college days. The comment feels nostalgic. Then, he quietly asks if they can talk alone later that evening. She hesitates for just a second, then agrees. That night, after the inspection ends successfully and everyone gathers for dinner, the mood becomes cheerful. The supplier warmly thanks them, and Yang gives a polite speech, expressing gratitude and inviting them to visit the hotel someday. The local staff even tease her, asking if she's married. She laughs and says, she doesn't even have a boyfriend. Someone jokes that spending weekends with older coworkers instead of dating is probably why. Later, Du Haiyan asks her to take a short walk. They sit down in a quiet spot outside. The air is cool, and the countryside feels peaceful. He finally admits that he didn't come to Bozong just for work. Even while studying for the bar exam after graduation, he often thought about Yang. He remembers how painful it was when she rejected him, but he also says that rejection pushed him to work harder, to become someone worthy of standing beside her. Yang gently tells him he was already a good person back then. She simply wasn't in a place where she could love anyone. Then, he asks her how she feels about office relationships. She answers honestly. It wouldn't be easy. People would talk. They'd have to work even harder to prove themselves. But if you truly like someone, maybe those risks are part of the choice. For a brief moment, it feels like he might confess again. But then, he surprises her completely. He asks for her help, not for himself and her, but for someone else. He says he plans to confess to Sim Bayok, a young intern in Yang's team. Hearing this, she is shocked. He explains that seeing Sim Bayok reminds him of pure, innocent feelings he thought he had lost. He asks Yang to help create a moment for him to confess during dinner. The words hit her like cold water. She forces a smile and agrees to help. During a drinking game later that night, the team plays Truth and Dare. When Min asked Du Haiyan why he came on this trip, Du Haiyan openly admits that he followed someone he likes. Everyone assumes he means Yang. The atmosphere turns playful. But then, he clearly says his ideal type is Sim Bayok. And right there, in front of everyone, he confesses to the intern Sim Bayok. Yang sits there stunned. Years ago, he once told her she was his first love. Now, he is confessing to someone else in front of her. After dinner, she wanders alone into a restricted area near the hills. Then, the tea master finds her and takes her back home and gently treats the scratches she got while walking. They talk about tea aging over time. She explains to Yang that unlike wine, most tea loses fragrance and value as it gets older. Old products lose market value, she says casually. The words sink into Yang's heart. For the first time, she wonders if she has missed her best season. She always believed she could fall in love whenever she decided to. But maybe love also has timing. Maybe she let her moment pass. She starts crying quietly, embarrassed but unable to stop. The team master awkwardly comforts her, telling her to just cry if she needs to. The next day, back in Seoul, she vents to her friend June. She jokes bitterly about getting older and being pushed aside. Her friend immediately scolds her, saying that one rejection doesn't mean she has to give up on love. If one man doesn't see her that way, someone else will. Reluctantly, Yang agrees to try a blind date. The day at the office, she goes to manager Yoon-suk and says she is ready to go on a blind date he had mentioned earlier. Now, the story comes to the present. She is standing in a downtown area in front of her blind date, Song Tae-sip, the same man from the beginning. Then they go to a restaurant. Song Tae seems stable, polite, and sincere. They talk about volunteering, about dogs, about living alone. The conversation flows smoothly. Now, Yang believes her blind date is going perfectly within that safe range. Everything feels calm and controlled until he suddenly says something unexpected. He looks at her seriously and asks, "Do you agree to date me with marriage in mind?" "What marriage?" She is shocked. They've only been sitting there for 30 minutes, and he's already talking about marriage. He says he wants something serious because of his age. She quickly excuses herself, and then disaster strikes. She accidentally spills soy sauce on her bright-colored outfit. She panics. She just wore this because her friend told her to wear something cheerful on a blind date. She goes to the bathroom to wash it, but the stains remain the same. Then, Song Tae tries to help her, even giving detailed instructions on how to remove the stain. Soak it in salt water, then sugar water, because soy sauce is water-soluble. But the mood is already ruined. She apologizes and says she should leave. Then, he offers to drive her home since he parked his car nearby, but she refuses. She doesn't want to cause more trouble. And just like that, the blind date ends awkwardly. Then, we see her friend June calling her immediately. He asks how it went. She says it was strange. Just then, the guy drove a foreign luxury car, which surprised Young. The next day, she and her friends start overanalyzing everything. Was it an SUV? Was it expensive? Was he rich? Or just pretending to be rich? They joke that maybe next time she should secretly take a photo of the car. Even her mother gets involved, saying if he drives an expensive car, maybe he comes from a wealthy family. Or maybe he's just a car poor, someone who spends everything on a car. Now, Yang gets annoyed. She says, "You are the one worrying that I can't date. Now, why are you pushing me toward marriage?" She's clearly overwhelmed. And the most important part, he hasn't texted her yet. Yoon warns her never to text first. "Don't look desperate," he says. Then the story shifts to Song Tae. We are introduced to our male lead, Song Tae-sip. He is the CEO of a furniture design company. Calm, skilled, a bit emotionally distant. We see him arriving early at work, even on the weekend. He changes clothes, works overnight, and focuses only on his business. He is a talented designer. After that, he takes a shower and goes to meet his best friend and the co-CEO of his company, Leeun. Then, we see them meeting again at a mutual friend's wedding. Here, we come to know through his friend Leeun that he dated a woman named Hyunju for 14 years. They broke up many times before finally ending it for good. Now, Hyunju also comes to this wedding, and everyone sits there and talks. Here, Leeun starts praising his friend that he is a talented designer. One of his chairs was sold at an art fair for 13 million won. But his success didn't come easily. The first few years were very hard. No money, no work, only loneliness. And during that lonely time, his love left him. The atmosphere is tense but quiet. After that, Hyunju comes to him, and she tells him something painful. When someone breaks up after loving for that long, they should at least come back once, or live well, or live badly. But you just disappeared. Song Tae calmly replies that he wasn't mature enough back then. Instead of facing his pain, he just buried himself in work. They talk like two people who once loved deeply, but now stand as strangers. And when she asks if he's dating anyone now, he says something unexpected. "I went on a blind date." That blind date was with our female lead. Now we see him at work again, busy preparing presentations, traveling for meetings, and handling design projects. His friends, Leeun, tease him, asking about the blind date. He asks if she is pretty. He hesitates but says yes. He gets excited. He has never really seen him date seriously since his breakup. But Song Tae says he's too busy this week to meet her again. Maybe next week. His friends immediately tell him to text her first. At least ask for the second date quickly. Meanwhile, we see Young checking her phone to see if Song Tae has messaged her, but he hasn't. This upsets her. At the hotel, the team is testing different melon varieties for their summer shaved ice. One melon has a strong fragrance, but isn't rare. Another has less scent, but a rich, pumpkin-like sweetness. One is not in season. Another has good sugar levels, but lacks crunch. After tasting them all, they decide on the best balanced one. They tell the purchasing team to contact the supplier immediately. As soon as the melons arrive, they will start recipe testing. Now, everyone is excited. Here, Liu notices that Song Tae hasn't answered his phone all day. He didn't even show up for lunch. That's impossible. He's the type of person who never misses work, the kind who only gets sick during school vacations. So, his friend gets worried and rushes to his apartment. He bangs on the door. Finally, Song Tae shouts from inside and gives him the password, 2621. When he enters, he finds him lying down, completely exhausted. He hasn't moved for almost a full day. Then, Leeun takes him to the hospital. The doctor explains that it's stress-related. When someone ignores emotional pain for too long, the body eventually collapses. His friend scolds him. "Even adults need emergency contacts," he says. "You can't live like this alone." But despite everything, Song Tae insists he can still go on his business trip. He refuses to slow down. Meanwhile, our female lead, Yang, is out with her coworkers. Here, her manager immediately starts teasing her about the blind date. Are you waiting for his message? She asks. Young pretends she isn't, but it's obvious she keeps checking her phone. Then, her manager offers to introduce her to a perfect man, a highly educated engineer from a big company, earning a high salary with no bad habits. On paper, he sounds perfect. Yang hesitates. She says she wants to wait just a little longer. She's still hoping. After that, while leaving, she unexpectedly runs into Song Tae. He looks slightly flushed. She asks him what he is doing here. She asks if he's been drinking. He says no, he's heading to the airport for a business trip. There's an awkward silence. Then, she gathers courage and asks him carefully, have you gone on any other blind dates? He says no. Then, she admits she has received another proposal. She asks, then should I not go? Song Tae pauses. He says calmly, it's not my decision. If you want to go, you should. That answer disappoints her. She tells him to hurry and catch his flight. Just as he turns to leave, he stops and says, I'll contact you after I come back. Hearing the word contact, her heart immediately reacts. The next day at work, the melons finally arrive. They taste incredible, sweet and fresh. The team decides to launch the shaved ice at a very high price, nearly 130,000 won. It's expensive, but they believe the experience justifies it. While all this is happening, Yang receives a message. It's from the new man, Lee Jisoo. He got her number from her manager and wants to meet on Saturday. She stares at the message. She thinks if Song Tae doesn't contact her soon, this means it's over. After thinking for a while, she replies yes. Now, Saturday comes. She prepares carefully. She thinks about personality, humor, stamina, financial mindset. She even considers what bag to carry because her mother once said people judge you by it. Then, she arrives at the cafe. She expects an awkward, nerdy engineer. But when Lee Jisoo walks in, she's surprised. He's handsome,
Clean, calm.
they sit down and start talking. She tries to be friendly, asking about movies. He says he doesn't like comedy or romantic films, exactly the genres she likes. Already, their tastes are opposite. Then, she mentions his company benefits and salary casually. His expression changes. He says directly, I didn't come here to be judged by my income. And if we date, don't expect financial support from me. The mood turns cold. She immediately responds that she never planned to depend on a man financially. The tension rises. To make things worse, he orders a large amount of expensive desserts. She thinks to herself, there are really all kinds of crazy people in this world. They argue in the cafe. She thinks he doesn't like her. He thinks she misunderstood everything. Just when she's about to finish the uncomfortable date, she suddenly sees someone familiar. It's Song Tae. He enters the same cafe. Seeing whom, Yang starts hiding her face. Here, Jisoo does not understand anything and asks who is that guy. Is he her ex? But she shuts him up and says she'll go first, and then says goodbye. But then Jisoo pulls her skirt, causing her to shout at him. Song Tae sees her and comes, asking what happened. Who is that guy? Does she know him? Now, Jisoo immediately says, I am her cousin. But Song Tae doesn't fully believe it. He just saw what looked like something else. Then, Yang leaves, and Jisoo follows her and stops her. Jisoo awkwardly apologizes, saying he was only trying to fix her skirt that got caught. She says it's messy, embarrassing, uncomfortable. The blind date is basically over. But then he stops her. Do you want to grab a drink? Then we see them at a small bar. Yang says she had paid the cafe bill, so he has to pay here. Jisoo agrees. Then they start drinking beer. Then soju. Then more soju. Yang eats like she hasn't eaten all day. Jisoo teases her. She teases him back. The tension slowly turns playful. She asks the question directly. Why did you come to the blind date? He says, to meet someone good. She presses him. Then why not me? He doesn't answer right away. He tells her she's pretty, that she's nice, that on paper, she's more than enough. But something doesn't click. That frustrates her, because for the first time, she actually feels nervous. After drinking a lot, Jisoo suggests they walk to digest the food. Then we see them at a playground at night. Jisoo points at the spinning ride and calls it by its real name, revolving stage. Young laughs and calls it a spinning wheel. They sit on it and spin. At first, they laugh like children, but then Young gets dizzy and shouts for him to stop. The world feels like it is spinning. Then she lays down. She looks up and says, look, the earth is turning. In that moment, something changes. Young looks at Jisoo and thinks, this is dangerous. My heart is fluttering. She imagines what it would feel like to hold his hand and trust him. She feels that maybe it would be better than she imagines. But then, reality hits her. She says, I don't think I can date you. He asks, why? Don't you like me? She answers honestly, that's the problem.
Ido, the reason is complicated.
The person who arranged this blind date knows both of them. If she follows her heart freely, it might create awkward situations. She feels stuck between her feelings and social pressure. The next day, the manager asks her excitedly what happened. Young admits they drank 4 bottles of soju together, but she says that was it, nothing more. Then, we see Young at work. A famous idol girl posts about their hotel shaved ice dessert on social media. The team gets excited because reservations increase quickly. Young reminds everyone that the dessert became popular not only because of the celebrity, but because they worked hard to choose the best melon and improve the recipe. Later, during a casual team dinner, everyone shares their stress. Sim Byok says she is worried about becoming a full-time employee. Another says her blind date failed. Young quietly listens and thinks about her own situation. She later talks honestly with Chef Seo Bin about relationships. She admits that when she found out her blind date drove an expensive car, her heart beat faster. But she also admits she cannot even tell the difference between a sedan and an SUV. She realizes that money, cars, or appearance do not guarantee anything. What truly matters is whether two people are on the same page. Then, we see Young trying different dresses in a shop. Just then, her phone starts getting a lot of notifications. When she picks it, she sees that a lot of people are messaging her. Different men are introducing themselves on the phone. One man says, hello, nice to meet you. My name is Yoon Park. Another says, hi, I'm Yuk Jun Seo. Someone else says he sings and acts in the military. It feels confusing. All these men somehow got the same woman's phone number. That woman is Young. Her friends and people around her keep giving her phone number to different men. They think she should go on blind dates and find someone to date, but Young seems overwhelmed. Then we see Young at home. Her mother looks at her and becomes confused. The house is full of strange things. There are clothes everywhere. Her mother asks, what is all this? Young used to be excited about working at a hotel and wearing uniform. Her mother touches her forehead and asks if she is sick. Young says she is not sick. Then, Young decides something important. She says that maybe there is still a 1% chance. A chance to meet someone who is truly right for her. So, she decides to try. She will meet these men and see if one of them could match her. Then, she quickly sets all her blind date schedules. The next morning, Young arrives at work. She looks exhausted because she did not sleep well. Her friend Min notices her condition and asks if she is okay. But Young reveals something surprising. She has multiple blind dates scheduled in one day. Min's coworker is shocked. People even go on blind dates before work? Young calmly answers,
Yes.
that's me. She says she has no time, so she has to schedule everything tightly. Min feels worried. Meeting many people like this feels wrong. But Young thinks differently. She says they are not in a relationship yet. So, when she meets someone, she just tries her best during that moment. Soon, Young attends a work meeting. A big announcement is made. Their hotel will host the 100th anniversary event of a premium whiskey brand. The event will start in the middle of next month, and it will last for 3 weeks. During the event, the hotel lobby will hold a whiskey exhibition and tasting event. Everyone realizes this will be a huge project. Young shares an idea. She suggests building a temporary wall in the lobby to create a shop-in-shop style space. They could design it like a real whiskey bar in Scotland. Her coworkers like the idea. The team decides to develop the concept further. Everyone seems excited. After the meeting, Min talks with Se Byok privately. She says Young has been working too hard. Whenever there is a problem, she always appears and fixes everything. So, they decide something. For a while, Young should live her own life. Then, the story shows Young going on many blind dates. During these dates, she learns something. The world is very big, and there are so many different types of people. Every person feels like their own universe. But, unfortunately, none of them match her taste. The first man is very confident. He even says something strange. If you want dating, I'll lead it to dating. If you want marriage, I'll lead it to marriage. He tells Young not to think too much. The next man is a fitness lover. He exercises a lot and eats a lot. Yang feels nervous. Just imagining it makes her stomach hurt. Another man is overly romantic. He calls Yang his muse. He compares her to Christine from Phantom of the Opera. Yang feels awkward. She tries to end the date early, but the man insists on walking her home. She thinks home is private and does not want to reveal her address. Suddenly, her mother appears. She loudly introduces herself. "I'm her mom." The romantic moment is instantly destroyed. The man becomes embarrassed. The date ends in an awkward way. Later, Yang meets her friend Dae-sip at the hotel. Her friend had asked her to help reserve a wedding consultation at the hotel where she works. When they meet, Dae-sip immediately asks a curious question. "Did you end up dating that guy from the blind date?" Yang simply answers that she is still investigating. Then, Dae-sip congratulates her. He says she works at such a fancy hotel, and that is very impressive. Then Min comes to her, and they talk. Min complains that meeting people recently has become boring. Most dates follow the same pattern. They meet, drink, eat together, and then go home. And after that, they never meet again. She wonders if she should start obsessing over a celebrity instead. Yang actually understands how she feels. Yang reflects on all the blind dates she has experienced. Some men said strange things. One man said, "You passed as a girlfriend." Another told her to simply use him. At first, those words sounded rude, but now she wonders if maybe they were actually trying to express interest. After all, most of them seemed like decent and successful men. But Min disagrees. She says if someone seems like a good person, Yang should let them find someone who truly likes them. And if she feels the relationship will not work, she should reject them honestly. That is also good manners for blind dates. Then, Yang begins rejecting some of the men clearly. She politely says, "I'm sorry. I don't think we are meant to be. I hope you meet someone wonderful." On the other side, we see that one day, Song Tae visits an animal shelter. He thanks a worker for coming even though he contacted them suddenly. There is a small dog named Sugar. Sugar looks clean and adorable after taking a bath. Song Tae gently pets the dog and wishes it a happy life. But suddenly, something upsetting happens. The person who wanted to adopt Sugar suddenly changes their mind. The person explains that Sugar looked similar to their childhood dog in photos. But in real life, the dog looks different. They complain that Sugar is bigger than expected and its fur is not nice. Song Tae becomes angry. Then they start an argument and end up at the police station. Then, Song Tae's uncle Eun Suk arrives and manages to take him out. Outside, Uncle complains about how irresponsible young people are. Song Tae decides to help. He says he will take care of the dog temporarily. Maybe Sugar will find a better home soon. Later, Uncle notices he is waiting for a message. It is from Yang, one of the blind dates. Uncle Eun Suk already knows everything, as he had suggested Song Tae to Yang. Song Tae explains that she said she would contact him again. Since they never officially ended things, maybe there is still a chance. The next day, Yang arrives at a place for work. She quietly looks around and says, "So this is the place." At that moment, her phone rings. A man introduces himself politely on the phone. "Hello, is this Yang? My name is Kim Soo-won. Eunmi gave me your number." Yang is a little surprised by the sudden call. The man asks if she has time for dinner. At dinner, he says Eunmi told him a lot about her personality. Then he says something strange. "I heard you have a great personality, so I didn't expect much about your appearance, but you are actually very beautiful." Yang politely thanks him. They begin talking about their families. Then, Soo-won asks something more personal. He heard that her father works for the railway company. Yang confirms that. She also explains that her parents live separately. Soo-won strangely responds, "That's good then." Yang feels confused by his reaction. Later that night, Yang talks with her friend Eunmi. Eunmi excitedly asks about the date with Soo-won. Yang says the man speaks confidently, but sometimes says boring things. Eunmi laughs and explains that Soo-won likes people who are straightforward. Apparently, he said he wants to see Yang again. But then, Eunmi says something shocking. Soo-won asked about Yang's parents' retirement preparation. Yang cannot believe it. Yang feels uncomfortable with the question. After hanging up, she thinks about it carefully. She decides this man is not someone she wants to date. Meanwhile, Yang's co-worker Sae Byok is working hard on the hotel's big whiskey event project. She had contacted several design companies for the exhibition space, but suddenly, Her manager changes the plan. She takes her aside, and instead of checking multiple companies, the manager says they will only work with one company called Homage. Sae Bayok feels confused because she already contacted home. But the manager insists that she simply handle the situation carefully and close the other deals politely. Sae Bayok reluctantly agrees. Soon, a representative from the design company arrives. He confidently presents their design idea for the whiskey exhibition. They plan to build a vintage-style whiskey bar using wooden materials. The wood will create an old, classic feeling. They will also use special colored panels to highlight the whiskey brand's signature color. Everyone at the meeting seems impressed. The presentation looks detailed and professional. Young's team thanks them for their hard work. After the meeting, Young asks Sae Bayok about the other design company named Home, whom they sent a proposal to, and they had also agreed. Sae Bayok lies to her and says they received disappointing news. Home Design Company contacted suddenly and canceled their participation. They say there are internal problems and they cannot continue. Sae Bayok feels sad because she worked very hard preparing for the collaboration. Young tries to comfort her. She says these things happen often in business. Meanwhile, Suwon calls Young again. He says Umi told him she might want to meet again. He also says he happens to be near Young's hotel. Young hesitates, but eventually agrees to meet. They sit together at a wine bar. Suwon compliments her outfit and says she looks great in pink. Young thanks him politely, but she decides to address the uncomfortable topic directly. She asks him about the question he asked about her parents' retirement. Young calmly explains something. They're not even dating seriously yet. Her parents' future is something for her family to worry about, not for him to judge. Suwon quickly tries to change the subject. He suggests ordering wine and cheese. While they are talking, Young suddenly notices something surprising. She sees a man who looks exactly like Jisoo, the one she had gone on a blind date with. She wonders if he might be a twin. Curious, she approaches him and asks carefully, "Are you by any chance a twin?" The man says no, but then the man recognizes Young. He teasingly asks if she is going on another blind date. Young feels embarrassed. Jisoo jokingly comments that the man she is meeting looks decent, but Young seems uncomfortable. Escaping the awkward situation, Young returns to the table and suggests moving to another place. Suwon agrees and goes to the restroom. Meanwhile, Jisoo secretly watches the situation. He overhears Suwon talking badly about Young on the phone. Suwon complains that Young rejected him before and says rude things about her. Jisoo becomes annoyed by his attitude. When Young and Suwon leave the bar, chaos suddenly happens. An argument begins. Jisoo intentionally tries to create a scene. Young tries to calm them down, but the situation becomes messy and embarrassing. Eventually, Suwon leaves angrily. Jisoo walks with Young outside. Young feels confused about everything. She asks Jisoo why he interfered. He thought she felt uncomfortable with the man. Young becomes annoyed. She says he misunderstood everything, but Jisoo simply laughs. He says something teasing. "You look like someone who desperately wants love." But she also points out something interesting. Jisoo himself is not honest either. He used a fake name during blind dates and pretended to be someone else. In other words, both of them are pretending in different ways. Then she leaves, but Jisoo keeps following Young as she walks away. She turns around and asks him a simple question. "How long are you going to follow me?" Finally, he comes and looks at her seriously and says something surprising. He explains that he is an actor and he is 29 years old. The blind date he attended earlier was not even his own. He was only pretending to be someone else because of a personal reason, but he refuses to explain that reason. Young feels confused and annoyed. She says she does not care about his story. Even if she knew the truth, it would not change anything.
But Jisoo still hands her something.
It is his ID card. He says quietly that he did not want to be completely fake to her. Even though he lied before, he wanted her to know who he really is. Young listens silently. Then he tells her something unexpected. "Come watch my performance sometime." Young quietly replies, "Okay." And just like that, they separate again. The next morning, we see Young in the office. She decides something important. For a while, she will stop going on blind dates, but she does not see it as giving up. Instead, she calls it a short pause before moving forward again. After some time, Young thanks her coworkers for helping her. They had been working hard while she dealt with personal problems, so she decides to treat everyone. She happily says she will pay for them, and then they go to a salon. Everyone cheers and laughs. For the first time in a while, Yang seems relaxed and cheerful, but the peaceful moment does not last long. The next day, at work, a serious problem appears. Someone discovers that the design proposal for the whiskey event might be copied from another company's design. The situation is very serious. If the hotel is accused of using stolen designs, it could damage the hotel's reputation. During an emergency meeting, the managers discuss the issue. The marketing team says that if the brand complains, the hotel might have to pay compensation. But the worst damage would be to the hotel's reputation. So, they decide to take control of the problem quickly. They will cancel the suspicious design and search for a new company to design the event space. Everyone agrees that the project must continue. After the meeting, Essie Bayok suddenly admits something shocking. She reveals that she canceled a meeting with home design company earlier. She did it because manager Na Ran asked her to do it. Now, she realizes that decision made things more complicated. But there is an even bigger surprise. The copied design actually belonged to the company she canceled, the company called Home. Yang realizes that the original designer might be very angry. Yang decides to fix the problem herself. Then, she calls the CEO of the home design company. His name is Lee Eun-ho, our male lead's friend. But Lee Eun-ho is not happy. He says he already saw the news about the copied design. He sarcastically asks how amazing the hotel's design must have been to cancel their meeting. Yang sincerely apologizes. She asks if they can meet and talk, but Eun-ho refuses. He says he is about to leave the office. Then, he jokingly says he is going to Chuncheon. If you want to talk, come find me there. Then he hangs up. Yang sighs. She cannot believe he actually hung up, but she decides to try anyway. After that, Yang arrives at the place where Lee Eun-ho talks about going there. She starts running around, trying to find the person she came to meet. But suddenly, she runs into a familiar person. He looks shocked to see her there. He asks if she came to meet him. Yang quickly explains she came because of work, but then she hears something unbelievable. Song Tae reveals that he is actually the CEO of the home company. Yang's eyes widen in shock. She never imagined he was the mysterious design company owner. Everything suddenly connects. Later, Yang meets Song Tae again outside with Lee Eun-ho and his daughter, Lee Sua. There is a quiet atmosphere. Song Tae gently asks why she came all the way here. Then, Yang realizes that Song Tae and his friend are actually co-CEOs of the home company. They run the space design brand together. Song Tae explains that he started the company with his close friend. They both worked hard to build the brand. Yang finally gathers the courage to speak. She bows slightly and apologizes sincerely. She says she learned something important from the recent problem. Sometimes people in power think small unfair actions are acceptable, but those small actions can grow into bigger problems. She also apologizes again for the design copying incident. Even though the hotel did not know about it, she admits they should have checked more carefully. Song Tae listens quietly. Then, Lee Eun-ho sighs and says something funny. If you come all the way here just to apologize like this, it makes me feel like the bad guy. He jokes that his partner actually did most of the hard work anyway, but he eventually accepts her apology. Yang feels relieved and thanks him sincerely. But Yang actually came for another reason. She prepared a new proposal for cooperation between the hotel and home. But Yang decides that maybe it is not the right moment to talk about business yet. First, she should improve the atmosphere and build trust. Then, Song Tae kindly invites Yang to stay for dinner. Since she traveled all the way there, he does not want her to leave immediately. They begin preparing food together. The atmosphere becomes warm and relaxed. Back at the campsite, Yang spends time with Lee Sua. The little girl wants to take pictures. Yang happily helps her. She starts taking photos from different angles. Lee Sua laughs and poses confidently. Song Tae watches them from a distance. Soon dinner is ready. They sit together and start eating. Yang compliments Song Tae's cooking. She jokingly says the food is so good that maybe he should quit interior design and become a chef. Everyone laughs. Later that night, Yang notices Lee Sua looks a little tired. She decides to do something special. She secretly arranges a small surprise. Then she knocks on the door. She says with a playful voice, "Room service for Miss Lee Sua staying in the suite." Inside, The tray has small mini burgers. Lee Sua takes it and happily thanks Yang. The little moment makes everyone smile. On the other side, we see Young's childhood friend June exercising. Just then he receives a message from someone online. She had been trying to buy a rare comic book. She loves classic comics and wants to read it immediately. She wants to meet urgently. Yun agrees. When they meet, we come to know that the buyer girl is none other than Min. Then they sit, and she starts checking the books. Yun looks confused. Min points at the comic and starts negotiating. She asks him to remove 2 old volumes from the set and lower the price. But June refuses. He says the comics are sold as a complete set and it cannot be separated. Min sighs dramatically. She explains that she only buys the comic because she wants to see her favorite character playing basketball. June watches her strange reactions. Then he suddenly asks a question. Are you actually going to buy it?
She says yes.
Then she suddenly suggests something crazy. She challenges June to a basketball game. If she wins, he must give her a 10,000 won discount. But if he wins, she will add 10,000 won more to the price. June cannot believe what he is hearing. He asks if she really wants to gamble money using basketball. Min confidently tells him he can also choose rock, paper, scissors if he is scared. June feels challenged and finally he agrees to the game. But when the game starts, June realizes something. This is not real basketball. It is a small arcade basketball machine. Even elementary school kids can play it easily. Then, June's turn comes, and he quickly starts scoring points. Min panics and starts interfering. Then, they play more games like this. Here, Yang is now at the campsite with Song Tae and looking at the sky. The night sky is full of stars. Yang suddenly points at the sky and shouts excitedly. She saw a shooting star. Yang quickly tells him to make a wish. Without hesitation, Yang closes her eyes and begins listing many wishes. She wishes that her family, Song Tae, Lee Sua, and everyone she cares about stays healthy and happy. She even asks for a salary raise. And she adds one more wish. She says she has not given up on love yet, so she hopes she can meet someone good. Song Tae listens to her long wish and laughs. He says her wish list is extremely long. Yang smiles awkwardly. She says opportunities to make wishes do not come often. Then, she asks Song Tae a question. Did you wish to get married? Song Tae looks surprised. He remembers their first meeting when he suddenly talked about marriage. He explains the reason. He says he is getting older now, so he wants to date seriously and responsibly. He also admits something honest. He liked Yang, so he tried to express his feelings, but his words came out too strong. Yang looks shocked. She never realized that was his intention. She explains her side too. When he suddenly mentioned marriage during their first meeting, she became very surprised. Because of that, she thought he might not actually be interested in her. Song Tae admits that he tried to treat Yang only professionally today. But even now, he still cannot stop paying attention to her. The moment becomes quiet and emotional. Suddenly, Lee Sua runs toward them. She excitedly shows Yang the food she is eating. She says it is very delicious. Seeing Lee Sua happy makes the atmosphere lighter again. Soon, Lee Sua becomes sleepy.
She slowly falls asleep.
Yang carefully helps Lee Eun carry her to the tent. Song Tae thanks Yang for helping. Later that night, Yang steps outside alone. She takes out her phone and calls her colleague. They start discussing the real reason she came to Chuncheon. It was not just to apologize. She actually wanted to present a new business proposal. But after seeing the situation and spending time with them, she lost confidence. She wonders if she should wait until they return to Seoul and discuss it properly. Her colleague becomes frustrated. He asks why she traveled all the way to Chuncheon if she was not going to present the idea. He tells her she should be confident. If Song Tae refuses, they can simply look for another partner. Yang listens silently. Here, Song Tae had come to see her, but he overhears their conversation. Now, finally, she gathers some courage. She decides she will talk to Song Tae directly. When she returns, Song Tae is sitting outside. He looks serious. He asks a direct question. Why did you really come here? Yang freezes. Song Tae continues speaking. He says she did not come all this way just to apologize. So, he wants her to tell the truth. Yang hesitates for a moment. Then, she finally reveals everything. She explains that she prepared a new proposal plan. She says if their company works with the hotel, they can introduce their brand to many more customers. It could become a beneficial partnership for both sides. Song Tae listens carefully. The night air becomes quiet again. Then, Song Tae politely asks if she needs help getting a taxi. But Yang shakes her head and says she will go alone. She quietly apologizes again and walks away into the dark night. However, the weather suddenly changes. Heavy rain begins to fall in the mountains. Back at the campsite, Song Tae and his friend notice that the rain is becoming very strong. The wind also starts blowing harder. They quickly begin packing their things and securing the tents. Song Tae suddenly remembers something important. Yang left alone earlier, and the weather is becoming dangerous. He tries to call her, but her phone is turned off. Now, he becomes worried. He wonders if she's safely reached the city or if she is still somewhere in the mountains. Finally, Song Tae decides he cannot just wait. He grabs a raincoat and runs outside to search for her. Song Tae searches for Yang. Song Tae runs through the dark road in the rain. He asks people nearby if they saw a woman pass by. But nobody knows where she went. One man even warns him that there are wild animals in the mountains at night. But Song Tae does not stop. He borrows a bicycle from someone and continues searching through the heavy rain. Meanwhile, Yang is also struggling in the rain. She is sitting at a bus stop. She looks tired and cold. Suddenly, Song Tae finally sees her. He quickly runs toward her. Both of them look surprised and relieved at the same time. Yang asks if he is okay, noticing that he is completely soaked from the rain. Song Tae is breathing heavily, but says he is fine. Then, he asks her an unexpected question. What kind of person do you want me to remember you as? Yang becomes quiet for a moment. She explains that their timing has always been strange. Every time they meet, something goes wrong. Then she asks him for some time. Song Tae listens silently. When the rain stops, they start heading toward the campsite. Yang thanks him for coming to find her. She promises she will show him a better version of herself next time. Song Tae laughs lightly and says her words sound like a politician apologizing after causing trouble. But then, the rain becomes even stronger. Both of them realize they cannot continue traveling in this weather. Soon, they find a small church nearby. They decide to go inside quietly to stay dry. The atmosphere becomes calm and peaceful. Yang notices that Song Tae's hair is still wet from the rain. He offers to help dry it. At first, Song Tae hesitates, but eventually, she lets him help. He gently dries his hair with a towel. For a moment, both of them become very quiet. The moment feels strangely warm, and they start kissing. It is clear that their feelings for each other are slowly growing. The next morning, they wake up inside the church. A priest greets them kindly. He explains that the church is always open for people who need help. He even prepares breakfast for them. They eat homemade jam and freshly brewed coffee. The priest becomes curious about their relationship. He asks if Song Tae is Yang's boyfriend. Both of them quickly deny it. They awkwardly explain that they are not exactly friends and not exactly co-workers either. They are simply acquaintances. Later that morning, Yang prepares to return to Seoul. Song Tae offers to drive her, but she politely refuses. She says taking the train will be fine. Song Tae goes to drop her at the station. She also promises to wash and return the clothes he lent her. The two of them share an awkward goodbye. But it feels like their relationship has quietly changed. Something new has started between them. After returning to the city, Yang goes back to work at the hotel. Her team is still dealing with the problem caused by the design plagiarism issue. Since the partnership with a home company is uncertain now, the team decides to search for other companies to work with. Everyone begins contacting new partners. Yang also works hard with her coworkers to fix the situation. Even though she is tired, she stays positive and encourages the team. Later, Yang receives an unexpected phone call. It is Song Tae. He asks if they can meet. He says he has something important to tell her. She wonders what he wants to talk about. Yang goes to meet him at a cafe, but she notices that Jisoo now starts working on that cafe. When she asks about it, she comes to know that he lost his previous job and her show also completed, so now he has to join here. Here, Young also apologizes for not coming to see his performance because of urgent work. Jisoo says it's okay, come next time, I'll give the tickets. Just then, Song Tae arrives and says hello to Young's cousin Jisoo, as he introduced himself that day as Young's cousin. Then he sits, and he directly admits that he could not sleep the previous night because he kept thinking about Young. Especially about one important moment, the moment they shared together.
He reminds her about it.
Yesterday we kissed. Yang is shocked. She did not expect him to say that so directly. Then Song Tae looks very calm, but inside he is nervous. He tells Yang that he was so excited to see her again that he could not even sleep all night. Yang is shocked. She did not expect him to bring up the kiss so openly. In fact, she feels embarrassed because Jisoo is around. But Song Tae does not seem to care. He wants to talk to her seriously. Yang starts thinking. She wonders if he is about to confess his feelings. She imagines him saying something romantic like, "We finally found each other again and we even kissed." She thinks maybe he will ask her to start dating. Her heart starts beating fast. But suddenly, Song Tae says something completely unexpected. He asks her, "Do you want to work with me?" Yang is confused. All that build-up. And he just wants to talk about work? Song Tae explains the situation. There is a business proposal related to a hotel project. It involves a whiskey brand pop-up event and furniture design. He had previously misunderstood the proposal and got angry, but now he realizes he was wrong. He apologizes to Yang for not listening earlier. Yang smiles and says it is okay. She is actually happy that he changed his mind. Now they agree to work together on the project. They plan to contact the brand and schedule a meeting soon. Even though they are talking about work, there is still an awkward tension between them because both of them remember the kiss. As they finish talking, something funny happens. He keeps trying to say kiss but cannot explain properly. After that, they say goodbye. But as he walks away, Yang feels confused. She keeps thinking, is that all he has to say about our kiss? To her, the kiss felt important, but Song Tae is acting like nothing happened. Then at night, Song Tae is with Eun-ho. He admits something shocking. He kissed her inside a church. Eun-ho is shocked. He teases him and tells him that a kiss is serious. He says he must take responsibility. At first, Song Tae seems confused, but then he realizes something important. He really likes Yang. He decides that he will work hard and properly ask her out on a date. Then Lee Sua joins the conversation. She gives surprisingly mature advice. She says that liking someone is something to celebrate. She encourages Song Tae to be honest about his feelings. Song Tae feels motivated, but then the conversation turns funny again. Eun-ho starts asking if she is dating now. Lee Sua gets flustered and denies it. He says it is not official yet. Then the business meeting begins. Yang and Song Tae meet again, this time with their teams. They introduce themselves formally in front of others. The project is about creating a whiskey-themed pop-up space in a hotel. The concept includes a stylish bar theme, a modern photo zone, a mini bar experience, an exhibition showing the history of the whiskey brand. The goal is to give guests a full experience using all their senses. Everyone seems impressed with the idea. Then, the two companies decide to work together. After the meeting, during the launch, something interesting happens. Song Tae praises Yang. He says her passion changed their decision. They also mention her creativity and unique style. Because of this, they want Yang to be the main point of contact for the project. Yang is surprised but happy. This is a big opportunity for her. After the meeting, Song Tae finally gathers courage. He quietly asks Yang something. He asks if she wants to go on a date. After the project is finished, Yang is shocked. She quickly looks around to make sure no one hurt him. Then she softly says, yes. This is the first real step in their relationship. Yang later talks to her friend Yun. Her friend asks directly, are you dating him now? Yang says no. She explains that a kiss does not mean everything, but at the same time, it does not mean nothing either. She is confused about her feelings. She wants to get closer to Song Tae, but she is also afraid of rushing things. At work, Yang faces another challenge. Her team member, Sim Bayak, feels guilty after making a mistake. Yang encourages her. She says mistakes are part of learning. She gives her another chance and asks her to support the project. This shows Yang's growth as a leader. Sim Bayak is becoming more confident and responsible. Meanwhile, Yang and Song Tae continue working together. They visit a hotel room to test design ideas, but the space is too small. Nothing fits properly. They feel stuck. To solve the problem, they try something different. They imagine themselves as hotel guests. Yang acts it out. She pretends to enter the room. She lies on the bed. She relaxes and watches TV. Then suddenly, an idea comes. What if they design something for the bed itself, like a tray table? Something small, useful, and stylish. Song Tae loves the idea. Finally, they have a solution. After work, Song Tae goes to drop her home. Their mood becomes lighter. They talk about watching a movie together. They even plan dinner. It feels like a real date. Their relationship is slowly moving forward. In the next scene, we see Yun at trainer center, where Min messages him and asks him to meet her again. Seeing this, Yun starts thinking something. Actually, they both had spent night together that day, and he had accidentally tear her book, so now he thought she might come to know the truth. So he messages her that what happened that night was a mistake. But Min thinks he is talking about their night spent and starts cursing him even when she is on a bus. Next, both of them meet at a place. Here, Yun does something stupid.
He gives her money.
He thinks it might fix the situation, but it only makes things worse. When Min sees the money, she becomes furious. She feels insulted. She thinks he is treating her like something cheap. She yells, "Am I a joke to you? Are you out of your mind?" After that, their misunderstanding becomes clear. She thinks he paid her like she was a product. Yun quickly explains. He says the money was for something else. It was for a damaged comic book, not for what she thought. The misunderstanding slowly clears. Then he explains everything honestly. He says he cleaned her house because it felt weird to only organize one thing. So he cleaned everything. He also admits something important. He really likes her. This changes the mood completely. The anger slowly turns into curiosity. Min asks him a direct question. Do you lose interest after sleeping with someone? Yun answers honestly.
No.
Then she also confesses. I also like you. The moment becomes soft and emotional. The tension disappears. They start to understand each other better. Now, the next day, problems appear again. Song Tae suddenly cannot come to the hotel setup. He has another important meeting. Yang feels disappointed. She was expecting him. Even though she does not say it, she clearly feels hurt. Then Yang continues the work without him. She manages everything. Later that night, something unexpected happens. Do Hyun arrives at the hotel. He brings coffee and drinks for everyone. He even brings hot chocolate for Symbioc because he knows she might be tired. It is a small but thoughtful gesture, but it backfires. Instead of feeling happy, Symbioc reacts coldly. She asks him, "Did I ask you to do this?" Do Hyun is shocked. He only wanted to help, but now he feels like he made things worse. Then Yang tells Do Hyun an important truth. If she feels uncomfortable, you should give her space. Do Hyun gets angry and says it's all because of you. Then, suddenly, chaos breaks out. He accidentally spills hot coffee during the setup. Yang gets burned on her hand. Everyone panics. Jisoo rushes her to the hospital. Thankfully, the burn is not serious, but the situation leaves everyone shaken. Meanwhile, Song Tae arrives late. He hears about the accident. He feels guilty for not being there. Then, the team quickly fixes the damaged furniture. They work all night to repair everything. Here, they get out of the hospital, and Yang still feels responsible, even though it was not her fault. Then, Yang decides to go home, and Jisoo offers her to drop her home on his bike. But before that, he goes somewhere unexpected. He takes her on a ride. The cool night air calms her down. For the first time in a while, she feels free. Then they sit and eat simple food together. Looking at the city lights, Yang opens up. She talks about her feelings, about love, about confusion. Jisoo listens quietly. He gives her simple but honest advice. He tells her not to trust too easily, but also not to ignore her feelings. This moment brings peace to her heart. Meanwhile, Song Tae comes to Yang's house looking for her, but then he finds her with Jisoo and returns her phone. Then, Jisoo leaves, and they both sit and talk. He notices her injured hand. He feels even more guilty. He apologizes sincerely. He promises, "I won't be late again." This time, his words feel more real. The next day, the whiskey pop-up event finally starts. Everything is ready. The design looks beautiful. The guests are impressed. Even VIPs and celebrities attend the event. The project is a success. But suddenly, another problem appears. The bartender cancels at the last minute. Everyone panics. They don't know what to do. Then, Jisoo steps in. He offers to help, and he becomes the bartender for the event. Once again, he saves the situation. After the successful event, everyone goes to the after party. There's food, drinks, and laughter. The mood is relaxed and happy. Everyone celebrates their hard work. Then, outside the cafe, Yang and Song Tae finally get some time together. Song Tae drinks too much. He becomes drunk and honest. He holds Yang's hand tightly. He looks at her and says, "You're so close, but I can't reach you." Then he asks her something important. "Do you still want to go on a date with me?" Yang smiles. She says yes. They decide to go for another drink together. But things don't go as planned. Song Tae is too drunk. He cannot even walk properly. Yang tries to help him. She stays with him to make sure he is safe. The next morning, Yang wakes up. She looks around. Something feels wrong. She realizes she is in a room with Song Tae. She panics. Her mind starts racing. Did something happen? Song Tae wakes up too. Both of them are confused. Neither of them remembers clearly what happened, but they saw that Jisoo is also present there looking at them. The situation is awkward. Then we see a flashback. Song Tae is drunk, and he can barely stand. Yang tries to carry him. She counts 1, 2, and lifts him. While carrying him, they run into Jisoo. Jisoo sees Song Tae sleeping on Yang's shoulder and gets confused. After that, they decide to take the drunk Song Tae to the hotel. After reaching the hotel, Yang quickly falls on the bed and falls asleep. Here, Song Tae keeps complaining and asking for water. Jisoo gets annoyed. He gives him cold water. Then, the water spills on her clothes, so Jisoo changes his clothes and makes him lay down beside the bed. Even though he is tired, Jisoo still takes responsibility. He makes sure everything is handled. He doesn't leave these two alone, so he keeps himself awake the whole night. Now, at present, Yang talks seriously. He apologizes for the trouble, but he also says clearly he is not the type to cross limits just because he is drunk. Then, Jisoo, who helped them, starts scolding Yang. He says she should not trust men easily. He warns her about going to hotel rooms. Yang feels slightly annoyed. She doesn't like being judged. She confirms that nothing serious happened. Everything was just messy because of alcohol. Then, Song Tae asks her to leave the hotel room first and make sure no one can see her. Then, she leaves from there. Later, Yang's colleagues come and ask when she did come. Yang lies. She says she stayed in the staff room after a work party. Then, they talk about a famous actress who comes to stay at their hotel. She is known as the Queen of Romance, but behind the scenes, she has a very complicated love life. She is in a secret relationship. She is also seeing someone else, and even supporting another man financially. The scandal is huge on the internet. Yang listens to all this. She starts thinking, is love really this complicated? Can people handle so many relationships at once? In the next scene, we see Song Tae at his house with Eun-ho. Song Tae starts blaming himself. He says, I should have tried to impress her. Why did I drink when I know I can't handle it? He regrets everything. But now it's too late. Eun-ho comforts him. He reminds him that Yang was also drunk. Maybe she feels the same way. Maybe she is also worried. This gives Song Tae a little hope. Now, Song Tae decides to fix things. He plans a proper date, good food, a movie, a better impression. He wants to make new memories to replace the awkward ones. Back at the hotel, the actress's scandal gets bigger. There are reporters everywhere. The situation becomes uncontrollable. Here, the actress named Sun Jong decides to take control. She says something smart. Instead of answering many reporters, she will prepare one strong statement, a single press release. This way, she can control the story. Then, the hotel manager introduces a new idea. It's called the Guest Relations Officer Service, a personal manager for VIP guests, someone who helps with everything during their stay. The actress likes the idea. She makes one request. She wants a smart and capable female manager. This is where Yang comes in. Her boss gives her the role. She will take care of the actress personally. Yang is surprised. She is not confident at first, but her boss encourages her. He says, good service comes from the heart, not just skill. This motivates her. Then he tells her there is another reason why Yang was chosen. She is a fan of the actress. Her boss thinks this will help create a better connection. Yang feels excited. Her boss gives her a business card and says, if you have any questions, call the manager. Then he reminds her of something very important. Work is work. This means she must stay professional, no matter what. Yang confidently replies, of course, but deep inside, she feels nervous. We now see Yang sees news and media about the famous actress, Sun Jong. She is called the Queen of Romance. Clips from her past interviews and speeches are shown. She once said, I feel most alive when I'm acting and when I'm in love. That's why her image is now controversial. Finally, Yang meets the actress. She introduces herself politely. Hello, my name is Lee Yang. I'll assist you during your stay. Sun Jong responds calmly. She observes everything carefully. Yang impresses her immediately. Instead of flowers, she places a picture of flowers. Actress asks why. Yang explains because she knows the actress is allergic to pollen. Sun Jong is surprised. She says, I never told anyone that. Suddenly, Sun Jong asks, what do you think about the rumors? Which man do you think is my real love? Actually, this is a test. But Yang stays professional. She answers carefully. My job is to make your stay comfortable. She avoids gossip completely. The actress smiles. She likes her answer. Sun Jong gives more requests. She wants better coffee. Less bitter, more fruity. She needs pajamas. She wants a humidifier. Yang notes everything quickly. She is fully focused. Meanwhile, Song Tae is busy planning his date with Yang. He is taking it very seriously. He prepares everything carefully, books a table for two, chooses a quiet place, plans the menu, like pea soup, checks the weather, prepares an umbrella. He writes everything down like a checklist. This is not just a date. For him, it's a very important mission. His coworkers notice his behavior. They say, maybe this is the biggest project of his life. They laugh, but it's true. Song Tae is putting in full effort. After that, Song Tae goes to fix something at the hotel. There, he meets Yang. They talk casually. He learns that Yang is now managing Sun Jong. He is surprised. He knows Yang is a big fan. Yang admits, yes, I'm a little nervous. Then the scene shifts to the gym. Yoon is tired after working hard all day. Min comes to see him. She brings cold drinks and ice creams for him. He smiles and asks, how did you know I was here? She jokes, it's written on your shirt. They laugh together. This moment feels warm and natural. They talk casually. Then, Yin suddenly kisses her. Then, they start kissing. Now, their relationship feels light and comfortable. Now, we move to Yang. She is getting ready for her date. She carefully chooses her outfit. She doesn't want to look too fancy, but also not too simple. Finally, she picks something casual but beautiful. Then, Yang goes to deliver a bouquet. This was a request from Sun Jong. The location is an art center. The bouquet is for someone named Lee Shin Jisoo. While delivering the bouquet, Yang realizes something shocking. The person, Jisoo, is connected to Sun Jong. Then, sitting here waiting for Song Tae. Finally, Song Tae arrives. The long-awaited date starts. Song Tae meets Yang. He compliments her. You look beautiful as always. Yang smiles. The atmosphere is soft and romantic. Song Tae planned everything perfectly. He takes her to a planned restaurant. But suddenly, the restaurant is closed because of a family emergency. All his careful planning fails. He gets nervous. Song Tae quickly suggests another restaurant. But there is another problem. They might not get a table. Time is running out. Seeing the situation, Yang steps in. She says, I know a place nearby. It's not fancy, but it's her favorite. Song Tae agrees. Then they eat at a simple restaurant. The table is a bit unstable. The place is not perfect, but the moment feels real. Song Tae shows care in small ways. He helps her eat hot food. Then he fixes things around the table. He pays attention to her comfort. Yang notices this. She feels touched. After that, they go on a walk where Yang asks him why he became a furniture designer. Song Tae talks about his past. He shares something emotional. His family became poor. They even lost their dining table. Because of that, they stopped eating together. They became distant. He explains why he designs furniture. For him, furniture is not just objects. It brings people together. It creates connection. This shows his deep personality. Young also talks about her past. She says she didn't have a happy youth. She didn't travel. She avoided relationships. She only focused on survival. Then, both of them realize something. They are happy now. Yang says, I'm glad we met now. Then, they go to watch a movie. Suddenly, Song Tae starts crying. Yang gets worried, but he says it's because of his contact lenses. Then, they come out. Yang helps him. She tells him to remove the lenses. She checks his eyes carefully. Now, because of his eyes, they cannot watch the movie. Then Song Tae suggests something surprising. Let's watch the movie at my house. He quickly explains he doesn't mean anything weird. He just wants to continue the moment. Yang agrees. They walk together. She makes him hold her arm. Both of them feel happy. Back at the art center, Jisoo finishes his performance. People congratulate him. Everything seems normal. But suddenly, outside, a reporter approaches him. She asks, "Are you the model involved in Sun Jong's scandal?" Jisoo is shocked. He immediately denies everything. He says, "I have nothing to do with her." But the reporter doesn't stop. The reporter reveals something deeper. She says, the theater is sponsored by a big company. The CEO's wife is close to Sun Jong. She might be helping secretly. Then she asks a very serious question. Did you make a deal for this sponsorship?
Jisoo gets angry.
After that, Jisoo confronts his director. He is furious. He feels used. He says, "You made me perform on purpose." He also accuses him. "You're using money from Sun Jong to pay me." The director gets angry too. The director explains the truth. He says, "They're not doing this for money. They're struggling. They need money for rent, costumes, food, props. They're just trying to survive." The argument becomes intense. The director says, "If you're not committed, just quit." Jisoo says, "Then fine, I quit." Everyone is shocked. Now the story returns to Yang and Song Tae. They arrive at Song Tae's house. The mood is calm and quiet. Yang looks around. Everything is clean and simple. Then suddenly, Yang sees Song Tae's schedule. She realizes something. He planned everything perfectly, but nothing went as planned. She smiles and says, "I had fun." This makes Song Tae happy. They start talking casually. Song Tae offers drinks. She chooses water. They sit together like close friends. The tension becomes soft and warm. They talk about movies. Yang says she doesn't like horror movies. They scare her. Song Tae shares something interesting. He says, "My dad told me ghosts are not scary. People are." This line is deep. Then they decide to watch a movie. Song Tae asks, "Should I turn off the lights?" Then, the atmosphere becomes romantic. Song Tae notices her dry hands. Song Tae gathers courage and holds her hand. Then, he says, "I have something to tell you." This is the moment. Everything slows down. It feels like he is about to confess his feelings. But suddenly, the door opens. Song Tae's mother walks in. She sees them together. Everything becomes awkward. His mother panics. Song Tae gets embarrassed. The mood changes completely. Then something surprising happens. Song Tae's mother recognizes Yang. She says, "You always eat at my restaurant." This creates an unexpected connection. Yang is shocked, and here the episode ends.